Namaste. Namaste is a Sanskrit greeting which translates as I bow to you. This is Mark by Mark A. Foster, Ph.D. for the Institute for Dialectical Metarealism. I am returning to the subject of the greater West Asian region of the world with some degree of concern. It is sad to me that that part of the world has not entirely, but to a significant degree, faded from the headlines. We don't see that much talk about Greater West Asia anymore, and we should. It is the most pressing issue which faces humanity right now, more than climate change. Because climate change is certainly a serious problem. It could turn spaceship Earth into a desert without human beings, a kingdom of cockroaches. But that's over the next decade or 2 decades. What is happening in Greater West Asia right now could turn the world into a desert overnight. And that is my concern. I am going to be linking a YouTube video immediately below this video in the discussion section from the Young Turks. I rarely agree with the Young Turks. They are progressives. I am a communist, and I generally find their views to be kind of disappointing, I'll say that. I know that Cenk, who was the principal guy, along with Anna, but Cenk is the principal guy who runs and owns the Young Turks. He used to actually work for MSNBC before they fired him because he was not willing to toe the line, so to speak. So I admire him for that. But he is an anti-communist. I saw him in a debate. I believe it was with his nephew. His nephew, I think, is a communist, or at least he came across that way. Cenk is not. Cenk was viscerally anti-communist in that YouTube discussion. I wish I had kept the link. If so, I would post that link for you so you can all watch that video for yourselves, but I did not. Regardless, occasionally the Young Turks, TYT for short, will make a video that I will agree with and that I find to be interesting and informative and perhaps predictive of things that may happen in the relatively near future. Fortunately, so far, their predictions, like mine, have not come to pass. If they had, we would be all dead by now. So I'm grateful that their predictions have not materialized, just as I'm grateful that my predictions have not materialized, which is why I have stopped making predictions per se. I will make speculations, but not concrete predictions of what I think will happen in the world tomorrow or next week or next year, because I realize that I genuinely do not know. But in this particular video, Cenk discusses some really serious concerns surrounding what Israel is doing right now in Greater West Asia. Not only, of course, is there that horrific terrorist campaign against the Gazans in the Gaza Strip, but right now, in retaliation, I wish that were pointed out more commonly. Lebanon, Hezbollah, has been bombing Israel. Now, Their bombing campaign has so far not been that successful, and that is because Donald Trump gave them the Iron Dome. Curse him for that. But he did. He gave them the Iron Dome. He did not provide one to the Palestinians or to Lebanon. And that basically gives Israel a free hand to do what it wants with little fear of any kind of destruction, physical destruction, or destruction of human lives. Now, whether the Iron Dome is as successful as is claimed by the US and Israel is a different matter. It may or may not be. There are certainly some holes in the system. It's not a flawless system. So whether it can withstand an onslaught of missiles from Hezbollah is unknown. But Hezbollah claims that it has the ability to send a large number of missiles into Israel. That is in this video from the Young Turks. Hezbollah also claims that it can send a ground force into Israel. I am somewhat skeptical of that because after the ground invasion, or as I like to call it, the jailbreak by Hamas into Israel, Israel has fortified its borders, and it is much more difficult getting into Israel than it was previously. So I don't know. Problem. Israel doesn't care. Israel will treat an attempted attack as an attack, as it has many, many times in the past. If Hezbollah attempts to bomb Israel, to invade Israel, then Israel will respond 10 or 20 times greater. 10 or 20 times greater. That is the tragedy. This horrendous situation even threatens to bring in Iran once again. And if so, it may lead to an all-out war in the entire region, perhaps even extending beyond the region. For example, the US might become involved. I am sure that the current administration, however Zionistic Joe Biden happens to be, does not want to actually go into Israel and fight Gaza and fight Hezbollah. I think. I don't know. But regardless of what the US, what Biden wants, it may find itself in that situation. Israel, after all, is the primary client state of the United States. In effect, Israel represents US interests in Greater West Asia more than any other country in that region. And the US, from the standpoint of its own policies, cannot afford to see Israel go under. And so, if Israel is in a major war, if Israel is being attacked and possibly even being destroyed, although I think that is much less likely, but it could happen. It could happen. Then the US will have no alternative but to join in. And perhaps other countries may do the same. Perhaps Jordan, for example. Perhaps France, for example. Perhaps the UK, for example, might join the US in a kind of alliance to protect Israel from Lebanon, from Hamas, from Iran, whatever. No one really knows. And that is the frightening aspect to this, is that there is so much that is literally unknown. We don't have the information to make a firm conclusion on what may happen or what may not happen um, in the coming days, weeks, or months, long before the November elections. So this would not involve directly, necessarily, a possible President Donald Trump, which I suspect would make the situation even worse, because Trump has indicated that, in his view, Joe Biden has not been Zionist enough. Now, whether Trump really believes that, who knows? Personally, I doubt it. But he says whatever he thinks will bring him attention, will bring him support. And I guess saying that Biden is not Zionistic enough, or however he puts it, will do just that. Regardless, this is a concerning situation for that area of the world. Very, very concerning. I think it will inevitably, in my opinion, and this is a speculation, not a prediction, lead the International Criminal Court to issue even more arrest warrants against officials, including Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel, and possibly against Joe Biden, and possibly against King Hussein, and possibly against other leaders of Western countries that may involve themselves in this expanding war against Gaza, possibly, Lebanon, possibly, and Iran, once again, possibly. Because there is so much that we do not know. Please do not take my words as anything more than personal thoughts that I'm having right now in the wake of just having listened to this podcast by Cenk Unger. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. I don't watch his show often enough. I think it's Unger or Uyghur, something like that. Please don't take what I am saying as definitive, because it is not definitive in my mind. I know what I don't know. And I don't know that, and I don't know much. I don't know that much of what is going to happen. I guess I should say I know. Well, yeah, I don't know that much. I'll leave it at that. I have very little knowledge of the future. None of us does. Whenever you see somebody in the media who claims to have knowledge of what will happen, turn them off. Look in the other direction, because they are prevaricating. They are dissimulating. They are lying. Don't give them any attention. Don't base your worries upon what they say, because they simply do not know any more than any one of us can know about what will happen, whether in Greater West Asia, whether in Russia and Ukraine, or elsewhere in the world. Nobody can know. Now, I love my Palestinian brethren, especially right now in Gaza. I love them dearly. I refer to them in conversations as my beloved Gazans. And commonly, I will say that among people whom I assume are likely Zionists. And so I get some really sour faces on Zoom whenever I make that statement, simply by saying my beloved Gazans. That is enough to trigger them off. It is very sad. Why should they not be everyone's beloved Gazans? Why should they not be Israel's beloved Gazans? Instead, they appear to be Israel's hated Nazis, of all things, Nazis. It is such a tragedy. We are watching our world spin out of control. And there is very little, if anything, that we can do to change it. I wish that I could do something. I really do. I wish I had the power to bring about some level of change in the world right now. But I know I don't. I know that I am as powerless as anyone else. Even heads of state have no real power. They may think they do, but the world is so complex that, and with so many interchanging parts, that the slightest change in course in the world might produce an entirely different outcome. And no one can know what that outcome might be. And so I would encourage people to be concerned, to be observant, but not to worry so much. Worrying is of no use. It's not productive. Instead, I would suggest support the Bund. Support the Bund. Once again, support the Bund. Support Abraham Weisfeld, Ph.D., and to a lesser extent, me, who was a part of the vanguard as well. I serve under Abraham Weisfeld, and there are others as well who serve under Abraham Weisfeld, but we are his servants. And I love Abraham. He has gone into Palestine and faced rubber bullets from the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, and make it clear right now that rubber bullets are not what they sound like. They are not really rubber bullets. They are hard. They can kill a person. They may be called rubber bullets, and you may think, oh, well, they just bounce off of you. No, that is not what rubber bullets do. That is not what they do at all. So he is a true hero not only for the Palestinians, but I would say for all of humanity at this time. We need more Abraham Weisfelds, and sadly, we have too few. Let us hope that this present condition, this present determination by the Israeli government to go and commit these acts against Lebanon, against Hamas, and possibly against Iran. Let us hope that they will fail, or that those leaders will, I would say, change their minds, but that does not appear to be very likely that they will change their minds. The best I think we can hope for is that they will fail. How they will fail? When they have so much global support, and really all they need is the US. Even if the rest of the world has turned against Israel, as it has, as long as the US, with the most powerful military force on the planet, is in Israel's court, that is all that really matters. For the time being, this has been Mark, by Mark A. Foster, Ph.D., for the Institute for Dialectical Meta-Realism. Have a pleasant day and an even better day tomorrow.